Okay, what's up everybody? This is Jason from Complus and I'm here with Jonathan Green. How are you doing today?
Yeah, good, thank you. Very well.
Very good. And of course we're here at Dragon Meet today in December. So you've got a lot of books on display here today, and I've just spotted as well you've also got You Are the Hero Part 2.
Yes.
So with You Are the Hero, I know that that's sort of like kind of a memoir to the fighting fantasy books for Steve and Ian just over there. So tell me about Part 2. What have you put in there in terms of, is it like a sort of a sequel? Is it more content? What's it got in there?
It is, yeah. So it's all new content. When I started writing You Are the Hero Part 1, it was just after the 30th anniversary, even though it didn't come out for a couple of years. So by the time I was writing Part 2, there was another 5 years of stuff, and quite a lot of things had happened since then. But the other thing I found is when I interviewed people for Part 1, they'd say, oh, you should speak to so-and-so, or have you been able to get hold of this person? And I got to the point where I had to just stop, otherwise the book would never come out. But equally, having published it, people then got in touch with me, which made it a lot easier trying to track some people down. So, for example, I managed to interview some other artists who went in the first one, and authors. But also, the fan base is massive. And there was so much developments in that regard that I thought that should be celebrated. So there's quite a lot in the second part that is more about what people have done around fighting fantasy. But then that includes fans who've then gone on to have their own computer games companies, like Neil Rennis of Tin Man Games and Carl Jackson of Nomad Games, and all the games they've done linked on fighting fantasy properties.
And of course you've done a couple of fighting fantasy books yourself.
Yes.
Are there any more possibly from you that we can see very soon?
Not yet, not at this time. We'll just have to wait and see. I think is the easiest answer to that one. Yeah.
But you have been doing a couple of other game books as well, sort of completely different, like Alice in Wonderland, for example.
Yes.
And you've also done a lot of sort of steampunk repertoire as well, which is really cool. And I did spot as well your Ulysses' latest book as well. Is steampunk a genre that you prefer to write about, or is it more just sort of what comes to mind? Because I know you've done some stuff, for example, the Shakespeare books as well.
To be honest, it's whatever interests me at the time. When I started writing the Quicksilver books, steampunk wasn't quite the massive thing it has been in the last few years, but there was obviously something in the air because Levi Tittar independently was writing his Bookman histories, and George Mann was writing his Newbery and Hobbs stories, which are now comics. He's done very well with that. And also I feel that Doctor Who for a while was quite steampunk, less so these days. But yeah, then I started writing Alice because it was the 150th anniversary of the original book. And then people said, you're going to do a sequel. And I thought, but I've done Through the Looking Glass in the first one. So then I thought, what other properties could I use? So then that became a thing. So I've done the trilogy of Alice, Wizard of Oz, and I've also just finished writing Neverland, Here Be Monsters, which is Peter Pan meets the Lost World. So lots of dinosaurs. And at the moment I'm writing just no steampunk at all. I'm writing Beowulf Beastslayer, which is very much in the style of a Anglo-Saxon Viking epic. So it's just whatever interests me at the time.
And when are we going to see Beowulf come out?
That should be out by this time next year. So I say should be. But all things being equal, it should be out next autumn, yeah.
Well, considering the con is going to be around that time, fingers crossed it'll be out by that point. Yeah. But apart from that, what else apart from that is in the works at the moment? Because obviously we've got a little while until then. And you do a lot of mashups, so is that something that you incorporate into a lot of books that you're trying to write?
It is, yeah, I'm doing it more and more. There aren't many things I can talk about yet, but there are other things in the pipeline. I definitely want to keep doing more of my own game books, and I would like to do another You Are the Hero, another history in due course. But yeah, I know it's quite cagey, but at the moment, that's about not much more I can talk about, really.
That's absolutely fine. For somebody who's not really read many of your books before, there are, of course, many different genres to choose from. So is there sort of a suggestion that you'd point anyone towards? Like, is there any that you sort of hold them, say, yeah, definitely start with this one, maybe move on to something else later?
Certainly with the new game books, the unsubtly titled Ace game books, but it's because it's based on playing cards, honestly. I'd say probably Alice, because it's such a well-known property, and you'll encounter the characters you'd expect to meet, but maybe not as you would expect to meet them. So that's quite accessible. In terms of my novels, I mean, yes, the Pax Britannia books are they're pulp. They're disposable, they're quite an easy read. So, yeah, I guess those two, at the moment anyway.
Fair enough. That's perfect. Thank you very much then for the interview, Jonathan. And thank you for taking the time to be interviewed by us today. Yeah, definitely, absolutely. And of course we'll broadcast this on the telethon. But finally, is there anything else you want to say to your fans who are going to be watching this during the telethon?
sound like I'm on Strictly Come Dancing now, but without you guys, I wouldn't be able to do what I keep doing. So thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Jonathan Green. I'm a gamebook author and fighting fantasy historian, and I'm very pleased to be supporting the Com+2 event. And please give generously to the Butterfly Project in Uganda. It really wouldn't happen without you guys, so thank you.